possibility that maybe they can get a road course ringer for next weekend, and then maybe Jeff Gordon gets back in the car at Bristol. Because I don't see, one, obviously because of how Dale Jr. is feeling, I don't see him getting back in the car at Watkins Glen. And even if he was feeling better, I don't think he was getting back in the car at Watkins Glen. And I think Hendrick Motorsports knows that and was waiting for Monday's update to let the fans know, because, again, I don't think Jeff Gordon's going to get in the car. I think they'll get a road course ringer to drive the 88 next weekend. And then you look at Bristol. Well, is Bristol really the race that Dale Earnhardt Jr. wants to get back in the car for? Where, again, the wrecks are kind of brutal and knock you around a lot. And so with that being said, you look at Michigan on August 28th and you go, that seems to be the likeliest place for Dale Earnhardt Jr. to return if he has recovered enough to go race again. Even Darlington's sketchy because Darlington is such a tough track. Richmond's not nearly as bad. When you get into the chase races, Richmond, Chicagoland, New Hampshire, Dover's sketchy, but Charlotte's not nearly as bad. Kansas, and then, of course, you have Talladega. So, as of right now, if I had to guess, if Dale Earnhardt Jr. is returning anytime soon, I don't think we see him back into the car until August 28th at Michigan. I think somebody else sits in for Watkins Glen, and I think you see Jeff Gordon in the car at Bristol. That's my prediction on this. And I'll update it as the weeks go on. I'm going to continue to do the race preview podcast because that's what this is. And this is about Dale Jr. And I want to be able to keep you up to date. Because you know what? If I would want the same thing. And I'm still listening to the Dirty Mo Radio podcasts every week, which have been a fantastic venue for Dale Jr. to voice his thoughts on what's been going on. He's been utilizing that. If you haven't listened, I would encourage you to go and check those out, because Dale Jr. has been updating on the Dirty Mo Radio podcast that comes out on Monday every week since he's been outside of the car. So, as it relates to Jeff Gordon in the 88 this weekend at Pocono, I was close last weekend, by the way. I said top 10, and he finished 12th. Is that right? Okay. That was a hard-fought 12th, though. He wasn't in contention the whole race. I'm going to say top 10 again for Gordon at Pocono. I'm kind of changing my thoughts on any chance of Jeff Gordon going to victory lane. The reason being is there's got to be something mentally about not having to go and win. He's out there to help Hendrick Motorsports in the owner points, to get good finishes. I'm sure he will try his hardest, but at the same time, can any driver really put forward 100%, even on a subconscious conscious level, if they're really not racing for anything, right? It's not even like a guy like Alex Bowman who is filling in the race car and wants to do well because he's filling in the race car. You're talking about an individual who was already mentally out of the game because he was retired, who's come in to help his team and to help the company that he's a part of. But in terms of motivation, that has to strip away some of that motivation. Plus, the car doesn't seem all that fast. They were sitting in the 20s in practice. I didn't get a chance to see any of the lap averages. They qualified in the 20s. And his comments on Twitter, Jeff Gordon's comments on Twitter, he says the car is good, but it's not great, and he certainly wasn't giving off any vibe that it was anything better than good. So anything's possible, but I'm really keeping my expectations tempered, and I'm going to go with the top 10 finish. And I'm going to continue as a fan to root for whoever is in the 88 until Dale Jr. returns. This whole situation has got me thinking, and I addressed it a bit last week, on if Dale Jr. were to leave, which driver would I end up following, and would I have the same type of fandom for that driver? It's a question I really can't answer yet. I mean, to me, that's what makes NASCAR so much fun, is that I am a huge fan of Dale Earnhardt Jr., and I am very much invested in it. I mean, I think that's where most fans derive most of their joy from, is following that driver. And it's a one-on-one personal thing. It's what makes it great. These are our sports teams. The drivers are our football, our baseball, our basketball teams. They're just individual people. So Chase Elliott is probably top of my list just because he's new to NASCAR or newer to the Sprint Cup Series, and I can kind of get to know him better. But I'm beginning to realize there is no other sort of Dale Earnhardt Jr. equivalent out there. So I guess all that is to say that I hope Dale Earnhardt Jr. gets well quick and gets a whole in terms of his health, so he hopefully doesn't have to go and deal with this again. But as I've been reading, and some of the different publications have done Q&As with neurologists who really didn't provide anything more than what we already know about individuals dealing with post-concussion syndrome. This is something that, athletes, individuals that have had concussions before, are prone to have this happen. So this is probably going to be something that is going to plague the rest of Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s racing career. And, that does call into question, does it change how long he will remain a race car driver? So until we have all those questions answered, I'll continue to root for Jeff Gordon and hope that Dale Earnhardt Jr. gets better and is fully healthy to go and drive the way that you want him to drive, that I want him to drive, and most importantly, he wants to drive, because I don't think anybody wants to win and be successful more than we do, than Dale Jr. does. He's the guy who built the career on this. We're just fans along for the ride. So I hope you enjoyed the podcast today. It went a little longer than I expected. I expected it to be shorter, but I realized as I started talking that I had more things to say about this. And it sucks getting old, and it sucks seeing your heroes and your friends get old as well, and dealing with that. And so, boy, that was a bummer podcast. I didn't mean for it to be a bummer podcast. I didn't. I was bummed, though. I lost my friend this week, and that made me really sad. I'm not going to lie. And then to see Dale Jr. go online and post that, it's like, oh, man, getting old just sucks. Just sucks. So, all right, let's hope Jeff Gordon has a good day at Pocono. Let's hope it's a really good race, and Kyle Busch doesn't win. That would make me happy. I'd like to see the Toyotas get knocked down. I'd like to see the field even out a little bit. I don't know about you, but watching the Xfinity races is getting to be a bit of a chore. I'm becoming a bigger and bigger proponent of not letting Sprint Cup drivers race in the Xfinity Series, just because they've been such a snooze fest with Kyle Busch and the Toyotas winning every single weekend. All right, so with that, I actually am going to go watch the Iowa Xfinity race, because there aren't a lot of Sprint Cup drivers in it. But let's be honest, I watched them all anyway. So the truck race was good today. So enjoy your Pocono race. Dale Earnhardt Jr., get well soon. Jeff Gordon, have a great race on Sunday, and we'll talk to you next week. And a little bit about next week, obviously. We'll be talking about who will be driving at Watkins Glen, because I'm pretty sure it won't be Junior. Have yourself a great race day and a great week, and we'll talk to you next weekend. Thank you so much for listening to the My Nerd World Dale Earnhardt Jr. Race Preview Podcast. If you want to drop me an email, you can do that at talkshownerd@gmail.com.
My Nerd World.
And finally, one of the most unusual pre-race prayers you will ever hear.
Heavenly Father, we thank you tonight for all your blessings. You said in all things give thanks. So we want to thank you tonight for these mighty machines that you've brought before us. Thank you for the Dodges and the Toyotas. Thank you for the Fords. And most of all, we thank you for Roush and Yates partnering to give us the power that we see before.